All right, everybody, welcome into Around the Felt. We're going to be doing the NFL Week 1 recap tonight. Boy, what a Week 1 it was.
What a week one it was, except for my Jets and maybe my Giants and maybe your Jets. My
No,
Giants
you
looked a
said
lot
your
worse.
Jets. You said your Jets.
You can make the argument that the Giants were the worst team in football this weekend. A lot of people giving the Panthers shit too, but not ideal. But we did have some positives to hang our hats on, Reagan. You did call Saquon Barkley 3 rushing
Yeah,
touchdowns and 100
come on
yards.
now. And
Good for you, bud.
I think you giggled and the guy in the bucket hat smirked, so that made it even better.
Yeah.
Giants fans couldn't believe it, and Barkley got it done,
Yeah.
cementing himself as an Eagles legend.
We'll dive into it. And also, I smacked my first ever Big Tongs touchdown score parlay at plus 1,300.
Yes,
Shout out
sir.
to
That was a
Anthony
nice hit.
Richardson for closing that one out. Got a little dicey at the end, but we got it done, man. We got it
Yeah,
done.
nothing like a last drive sweat, huh?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it was great. It was great. I was
Well,
leaving the
and
stadium in disgust, leaving MetLife Stadium. Like, God, we are so bad. And I checked my phone. I'm like, oh, shit. The Colts are inside the 10 right now. And then my phone just starts blowing up, and I'm like, oh, Richardson scored. Let's go. That makes that loss hurt a little bit less.
Well, you know what really had me laughing too? I know you talked about the Giants and the Panthers before. I have friends that are fans of both teams, and the Giants fans were all shitting on Bryce Young a ton. And then the next day, the graphic comes out about how since Daniel Jones has signed his contract, he's thrown more pick sixes than actual touchdown passes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
y'all are really shitting on Bryce Young when this is your quarterback. And nobody had anything to say, but I'm just like, it's nice to finally, even though the Jets lost, it's nice to finally be out of those conversations where you're like talking shit about, well, your team, we might be the second worst team in the league, but we're not as bad as you. So it's nice to finally be out of those conversations. I do not miss those.
Yeah, a lot of people on Giants Twitter now are like, we are the Jets. That is who we are now. We're the laughing stock.
Yeah, I don't know. That Panthers Giants game in England is that's or no, it's in
Germany.
Germany. It's in
Germany.
Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be a very interesting one.
The poor
To say the
Germans. The
very
poor
least.
Germans.
What
All
do you
right,
mean?
Reagan, let's dive in.
We're sending our finest players.
Yeah. Let's dive into our news, huh? We're going to start off
Yeah.
with Dak Prescott.
Mm-hmm.
Hours before kickoff on Sunday, signing a 4-year, $240 million extension, the highest paid player in NFL history on a per-year basis. What a bombshell, Reagan. Funny story here. I was at the tailgate at MetLife, and right across from us, a big tailgate going on. There's this big dude. He's a little cocky, but he's a nice guy. He's joking around with us. And he just casually drops that he's a Cowboys fan. I'm like, dude, what are you doing here? He's like, yeah, my family's had season tickets for since the Polo Grounds. I'm the only one of my 9 other siblings that is a Cowboys fan. Everyone else is Giants. So I'm just coming here. And I'm like, what do you think about Dak? He's like, oh, I don't like Dak. We don't win in the playoffs with Dak. He's terrible. An hour later, boom, deal gets signed. I'm like, hey, buddy, you see that deal? He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, Dak Prescott, you got 4 more years. He's like, oh.
Yeah, he looked good on Sunday, but
He did,
I mean that
against
defense.
that Cleveland defense.
Yep, and Brandon Audrey, the kicker. Holy shit, this was like the fantasy week of kickers. I think there was like 4 or 5 guys you could have picked up that were over 20 fantasy points.
Just insane, dude.
Yeah,
Insane.
and we were
Derek
saying
Brown.
don't draft kickers, but clearly they win fantasy matchups.
Clearly they can win you a week. Derek Brown out for the season, torn meniscus. Oh, as if it couldn't get any worse for the Panthers, man. Arguably their best player, probably their best player. Just signed him to a
Definitely their
massive
best player.
extension. Yeah, just signed him to a huge extension, man. Not only to get blown out by the Saints, and Bryce Young looked terrible yet again, but you lose your best player. Tough, man. Just tough.
Well, yeah, dude, I don't even know if you realize, and I didn't realize till I looked it up. He actually set the record for most tackles in a season by a D tackle last year with 102.
Disgusting.
So that just tells you how good he is. And another funny story, the Giants and Panthers fans were going at it back and forth in my group chat. And the one kid's like, oh, well, top 5 players between the two teams are all Giants players. And the other kid's like, no, we got Derek Brown. 5 minutes later, Derek Brown out with an ACL tear. I'm like, that timing could not be worse. Everyone's like, not anymore, you don't. Not anymore, you don't.
Jesus, man. Just so tough. So tough. More injury news to the knee. Jordan Love sprained MCL. However, he is not on IR right now. They said that the initial timetable looked like 3 to 6 weeks, but the fact they did not place him on IR means they believe he has a chance to come back in 2 or 3 weeks which would be huge for the Packers because that was obviously a really tough loss. But man, last 30 seconds of the game, seeing your starting quarterback go down with a knee, definitely scary.
Well, it's a risk you have to take because if you're going to put him on the 4-game pup, that's fine and all, but you can't touch him for 4 games. Or not, I said pup, but 4-game IR. So you
Yeah.
almost like have to take the risk because if you can get him back in one less game, the difference because this team, let's be honest with Malik Willis, they look like they're going to lose every game. I don't know if they
Willis
will,
is
but
terrible.
the difference between 0-4 and 1-4 is or 0-4 or 0-5 or 1-4 is massive. Like if you can get Love back and he only misses 3 games, like that one game can decide your season. Because I don't think we've ever seen a team start 0-5 and make the playoffs. I know there's been a couple teams that have started 1-4, 1-5 and made the playoffs, but it's really evident that they need him back fast because Malik Willis doesn't give anybody confidence, and I'm not looking forward to any of those pass catching options now with him.
Yeah, I don't even think Malik Willis belongs in an NFL roster, to be honest with you. He looked, I mean, just what we saw in Tennessee. He didn't even look competent out there throwing the ball. So I know he's fast, but not going to get the job done in the NFL. Puka Nacua headed to the IR with a knee sprain. Tough one, man. I had Puka in my parlay. I got Puka in one of my redraft leagues. We barely got a win by 2 points against Zach, who will be joining us shortly. So I got quite lucky there. But yeah, Reagan, I know you got a lot of Puka Nacua shares. Not ideal for those of us that do have Cooper Cup, though. 21 targets when Puka went out. My goodness.
Yeah, man, I got my ass kicked in fantasy this week and a lot of injuries. But Puka going down sucks. I had him for some reason, like all my best ball drafts, I was getting the 12-13 pick, and my Puka owner percentage is so high right now. So looks like I could have just used that money as toilet paper.
That's not good, brother.
I mean, it fucking sucks. I have Puka in so many leagues. I was expecting such a big year, and it's not over, but like, you spent such high capital on him. He's going to miss at least 4 weeks now.
At
So,
least. Could
just
be more.
fucking-
Could be 6. It's just tough. It's tough. All right. That wraps up the news. Zach, get your ass in here, brother. We got
Yeah, Zach.
questions.
Where are you, Zach? No, I got to add him to the stage.
Here I am. How we doing, boys?
Good.
What's
Let me
up,
put
Z?
you in the middle. Yeah.
There you go.
All right. We're going to start it off from Lino. Redraft Dynasty question. Thoughts on Kyler Murray's week 1 performance?
I got
He
to
looked great.
I was at the Giants game, so I didn't get to watch the full thing, but I did
looked
get a
great, bro.
text in that group chat fairly early on the slate going, people forgot how good Kyler Murray was. And I'm like, I didn't forget because I traded Will Levis in a 2nd-round pick for him in Superflex to Ryan. And I'm like, Ryan forgot. I didn't forget how good Kyler Murray was.
Damn, you bent Rylu over. But yeah, no, Kyler, dude, Kyler looks sick. He looks like he's back in that MVP level performer we saw a couple years back. I mean, he was super mobile. I mean, they didn't look great in the second half, but that first half they were giving the Bills the business, and then not a ton of production later in the game. But I don't care. The defense isn't good. I expect a lot of garbage time, and he had a good game, and that's with having Marvin Harrison only having 4 yards receiving and McBride having 30. So he didn't even really use his top 2 pass catching options. Michael Wilson, touchdown there. That's a guy I was kind of hyping up a little bit coming into the season, so you like to see that. But
it was his only catch, though. But yeah,
hey, doesn't matter. Does not matter.
Yeah, I like that Kyler had over 50 yards rushing. Certainly the biggest takeaway for me. That mobility looks to be back. And he did spread the ball around a lot, which you do like to see unless you have Marvin Harrison and you were taking him early in the 2nd round in your redraft leagues and you're like, shit, I was expecting a lot more, but no need to panic. Him and Kyler getting the same page. He's going to be really good. But yeah, just a lot of positives for that Arizona offense initially. But yeah, that defense, man, going to be one to target all year, betting wise and fantasy wise.
All right. Well, speaking of Marvin Harrison, next question. Thoughts on Marvin Harrison after week 1?
Just said it. Don't panic. Don't panic.
Yeah,
it's going to be all right.
If you can go acquire him, go get him on the cheap. I mean, everyone's got idiots in their league. So if you know one of your idiots has him, go get him. Go get him. Oh, no. Colin, Zach?
What? Reagan, we can hear you, dude.
You went blank on my screen. I don't even see you guys.
I see you. I think it's you.
I see you. I see.
All right. I got my Wi-Fi fixed. It took a while, but let's get back to that Marvin Harrison question. I don't even know where the hell we left off. I was just honestly just like punching my desk and cursing and stuff. But
yeah, Bub was a little frustrated.
Screw technology, but I'm calm. I'm cool. I'm cool as a cucumber now. No, I don't have anger management. I really don't. But yeah, so Marvin Harrison, I would try to find the idiots, like I said earlier, and go get him. I think he's going to still have a big season. I mean, it's 1 week. I mean, there's so many guys that underperformed this week. I think I saw a stat like, I think there was like touchdown passes were down like 20 or 30 from last year's week 1. So, I don't know if that's a testament to the defense or just, a sluggish week 1, but I expect a lot of high scoring matchups next week for fantasy.
Yeah, passing as an entirety was down from previous years. Like quarterback passing statistics, quarterbacks over 200 yards, passing touchdowns, receiving yards for tight ends was way down when this has been one of the best tight end fantasy pools we've had in a while with all those guys, all those studs. So, Kyle Pitts was your leader, I believe, with outside of Isaiah Likely. That happened on Thursday, I believe on Sunday with a touchdown. So, and he had 11 points. No need to panic yet, guys. It's 1 week.
1 week.
Well, all right. The next question from Lino is just who's the cock lock for next week? So,
Who's the cock
yeah,
lock?
who's the
Oh.
cock lock?
Who's scoring? Who's definitely scoring? Is that what you want to know?
He wants to know the cock lock.
The cock lock. Who's definitely scoring?
So knowing
Malik
his
Neighbors
I
against
think
that
that's a cock
Commander
lock.
yeah,
secondary.
it'll
How
probably
about
be like,
that?
he'll probably say something with the Giants. Will be like Devin Singletary over rush yards or Daniel Jones over pass yards. He's some
How
square
about
pick.
J.K. Dobbins back in the end zone against Carolina next week? I like that initially, just looking at it.
Yeah, I like. I think Henry gets him twice next week against the
Horse
Raiders.
Henry against the Raiders, huh?
Everyone's, Harbaugh just came out with that quote. We didn't bring this guy in to be a 30 touch guy. Everyone's going to be taking his under. Everyone's going to be like panicking, and then he's going to go out for. Watch now, he's going to get 20 carries, over 100 rushing yards, and he'll get 2 touchdowns next week, and everyone's going to be like,
Yeah.
"But John Harbaugh said that coaches lie all the time. It's coach speak."
Oh, so you're telling me Henry's getting 30 touches next week?
I don't know if we'll get 30 touches, but I definitely think he'll be over 20, and I think he gets in the end zone twice. I mean, the Raiders just got cooked by like J.K. Dobbins, who is cooked. It looked great, but I mean, he couldn't. He got hawked down on a couple big runs.
All right. Next up from Walmart, which rookie quarterback disappointed you the most? And do you think their struggles are a sign of what's to come?
Rookie quarterback that struggled the most. I mean, you look at Caleb Williams, didn't throw for over 100 yards, but I did highlight earlier that on the pod last week, secondary for Tennessee is slept on for sure. It's a solid secondary, but still the number 1 overall pick with those weapons. Yeah, Dunze left with the knee, but he'll be all right. He's week to week. I mean, throwing for under 100 yards is not ideal, but I mean, Bo Nix threw 2 picks, but his also depth of target was terrible. They didn't really stretch the field. He didn't look good.
That
I mean,
sucked to watch. I mean, he was so afraid to throw the ball downfield.
yeah, not ideal. I mean, at least Jaden Daniels showed you something with his legs. I mean, I'm most disappointed in Caleb Williams, though. Throwing for under 100 yards, a highly anticipated debut in Chicago. Obviously, they still won the game somehow, some way, but yeah, that's got to be the most disappointing for me.
Yeah, that definitely Caleb Williams.
I mean, and also Bo Nix,
Mayo.
Bo Nix was playing on the road in Seattle. That's not an easy task for your first game, whereas Caleb Williams was playing at home against a team, the Titans, where, I don't know. Really not. They don't really scare me.
Yeah, I think Caleb Williams is the obvious answer.
All right. Next up, we got a fantasy question. What is Jahan Dotson's fantasy or dynasty value at this point?
Like, I would just leave him on the bench. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to trade for him. I wouldn't be going out of my way to get him. I mean, he definitely doesn't belong on waivers. But I don't think his upside's that high. I mean, if Brown or Smith is to miss time, then he becomes more interesting. But it really just seems like in that offense, it's going to run through the 2 stud wide receivers, Goddard and Barkley. And, Gainwell will be involved in a sense too. But I don't know. They proved they really don't need a 3rd wide receiver there.
They really don't. I wouldn't trade a 3rd round pick for Jahan Dotson, to be honest with you. It's really sad how it's come to that for Dotson, but unless one of those guys gets hurt, which you never know, even if he's a wide receiver too, say Devontae Smith is out, I still think A.J. Brown gets pumped targets and they run the ball through Barkley and Goddard's more involved. And he's still the 4th option in the offense, which you never want to start a 4th option on offense in your fantasy lineup anyways. So I see no value there right now. Dart throw maybe, but you're relying on injury.
All right, Colin, this is from Caleb. As a Giants fan, how long of a leash do you give Daniel Jones before you want to see Drew Lock take over, or maybe even a return of Tommy Collins?
I had this conversation today with Lino. As a matter of fact, he's like, how long do you think they give him? I'm like, well, that was about as bad as it gets for an opener for him against a Vikings team that they don't really have high expectations. Yeah, they got some decent players on defense, but nothing really significant. So with the injury guarantee next year, his leash is not very long. And yeah, you have Drew Lock, but apparently Drew Lock looked terrible in camp. Just like people were saying, it should have been more of a competition. But in practice every day, Jones looked like the better player. You know what I mean? So I have no confidence in Drew Lock. Tommy DeVito, neither. But I don't know, dude. It sucks. I don't know where to go, right? Like, this is tough. They are screwed at the quarterback position. Where do they? I mean, his leash, I'll tell you what. If he plays that bad again against the Commanders next week, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets benched for week 3 because the Commanders have an awful, awful defense. Baker Mayfield just lit him up.
Yeah, I mean, I will say about DeVito, like, obviously Jones is more talented, but it does seem like everyone kind of plays up more. He like brings a totally different energy to the team that they don't seem to have when Jones is a quarterback. They just look kind of lackluster and just like not that kind of energy. Where with last year with DeVito, like, yeah, he wasn't putting up big numbers and stuff, but everyone was just fired up on both sides of the ball. It was like a totally different team. So I definitely think they should at least try to turn to him if stuff doesn't change with Jones.
All right,
Wait,
Reagan, this is from Caleb directed towards you. You had high expectations for the Panthers this week. Was this game more a matter of the Saints looking good, or was it the Panthers showing us why they will remain bottom feeders this season?
yeah, I mean that the whole fucking thing sucks because last year Derek Carr was my motherfucking guy, and he fucking he shit the bed till the last 4 or 5 games. This year he comes out slanging that thing, 3 touchdowns. I mean the yards weren't high, but they didn't need to be high. I think it's a combination of both. I'm not gonna totally rule out the Panthers, but they're probably not gonna be good this year. And the Saints, maybe they're a little bit better than we thought, but I think it's more of a Panthers thing than a Saints thing. But you never know. We'll see how the Saints play against Dallas this week. I mean, if they're hanging around, it's a close game, or they even win, then maybe the Saints are truly legit this year. And we were kind of sleeping on them after 3/4 of the beginning of the season last year. And hey, maybe Derek Carr's healthy and he still is that guy.
I think it's definitely more so the Panthers than the Saints. I did say I was worried that's a veteran defense on the road, tough place to play, New Orleans. I was concerned about how the Panthers would look. I didn't think their defense was going to look that bad to just get exposed by Derek Carr. It's going to be another long season in Carolina, man. It just is. And if Bryce Young doesn't make those steps that Reagan projected him to this season, then the Giants have some competition at the top of the draft for a quarterback next year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if he doesn't improve at all, he's 100% done. I mean, they even gave him he's gotten weapons. I mean, there's no excuse. There really is no excuse for how bad he played. But hey, it's a long season. It ain't a 1-week season. It's a 17-week season. So you motherfuckers that keep commenting on the Panthers video, chirping, just wait. Save your chirps till the season's over. And I'll take you like a man.
This is why LT says don't draft a midget quarterback.
Who said? Lawrence Taylor said that?
Lance Tong, baby. The real LT.
Fair. Fair.
All right, next up we have Hugh Chavez.
No.
Weird thoughts that Danny has thrown more picks than passing touchdowns since signing his $160 million contract. If I remember correctly, someone defended the contract last season by saying that, quote unquote, if you think about it, $40 million a year isn't that bad for a player of Daniel Jones' caliber. Just want to see what y'all thoughts were that the worst quarterback in the league is making that type of money. Hope you had a great offseason. I look forward to another season of following the pod.
You gotta be kidding me, dude. No way. Hugh Chavez is back.
I guess is this LT? Because this guy's your dad, bro. He's back.
Shit. You know what? Hugh Chavez, I cannot defend Daniel Jones right now, dude. I wish I could go to war with you right now. I don't have the ammunition. I just don't after that performance. To defend my point, no, I didn't think he was going to hurt his neck last year and then tear his ACL, even though he did look bad. Who in the hell would have anticipated he'd have more pick sixes than touchdown passes since signing that deal after how he looked in 2022? The only counterpoint I can give you is with all the quarterbacks that have signed since, Jones is in that like 16 to 18 range based on a per year basis. But yeah, his cap hit this year is a lot higher than some of those other guys because they structured it so they can get out, as compared to some of those other guys that are established and legitimate quarterbacks that they're kicking the can down the road to win now. But on a per year basis, he's in that 16 to 18 range, which would make sense based on 2022. But no, based on what we saw, Hugh Chavez, it does not make sense for for where he's at. No. So I'm sorry. I wish I could argue with you like we had last year and had some banter. I just can't do it right now, man. I mean, what do you want me to say?
I still want Hugh to come on the pod and debate you. So find another thing to tick him off. Start shitting on like Dexter Lawrence.
I would love that, an identity reveal. So we could
no, I don't even need to see his face. He could be behind like a black screen with like a fake voice. I don't care. We need Hugh. We just need Hugh shitting down your throat.
Jeez, man.
All right, we're gonna go to Austin Noworski now. When is Michael Penix going to start for the Falcons?
Oh, we're not gonna overreact. Yeah, I get it. Kirk Cousins. The entire offense was basically, all right, Kirk, we know you're coming back from the Achilles and you're old. So we're just going to go shotgun all day and 3-step drop and just get the ball out. Clearly did not work, and the Steelers have a good defense, so that game plan was flawed to begin with. But is that a question of Kirk's not fully healthy yet? They say he is, which is concerning. But if he's not fully healthy, then I don't know. I mean, it's going to take him actually getting hurt for Penix to play. I think he's going to figure it out. Kirk Cousins knows how to play ball, all right?
Yeah, so my whole thing is I don't really see. I just think it's an overreaction. I really don't see how Penix touches the field this year unless it's for injury. I mean, hey, maybe the Falcons clinch the division and he's playing Week 18, but there's no chance we see Penix unless it's injury related.
All right, next up, should Bengals fans be worried?
No, I thought that the Bengals were going to start off on a better note than they have in the past several years. We highlighted their slow starts historically, and they've rebounded. Now, losing to the Patriots, yeah, not good. Like, a lot of people are shit on Joe Burrow, like all the memes of Joe Burrow without 2 number 1 wide receivers in the lineup, and it's just like off-brand shit. I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, Joe Burrow's still that dude. He's a little rusty. I mean, is it slightly concerning? Yeah, but am I pushing the panic button? Absolutely not.
Really, I'm a little worried, but you know what? It's just because like with Chase, like in the contract and like Higgins not being out, it's just I don't know. I mean, it's hard to doubt them season long. I just think it might come out a little rusty. But I also wouldn't be shocked at all if they come out and spank the Chiefs this week, and it's like, what the hell? Like they just lost to the Patriots, and the Chiefs just beat the Ravens, and then it's like a flip flop, and the Bengals are throwing it all over them, and the Chiefs don't look good. I mean, the NFL is such a weird league that I wouldn't be shocked at all. The Bengals go on the Arrowhead and win like 30 to 14 or some shit.
I'd imagine the world is going to be on the Chiefs spread this week.
Yeah, I kind of like Bengals spread. I think it's like 6.5 too, which is a lot of points to give Burrow.
It is.
All right, next question: are the Giants going to be the new Jets?
I said it earlier, man. Giants Twitter is saying we are the Jets now. We are the laughing stock of the league. I mean, we might be.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't made the playoffs yet, so don't give us our flowers yet. I mean, if we miss the playoffs, I mean, we're still the Jets, you know?
If you miss the playoffs, you are still the Jets, dude.
You know, like, I don't know if we, like, get out of that whole, like, if we miss the playoffs, like, I don't care how bad. The Giants could go fucking 0-17. If we miss the playoffs, like, it's just going to be, we're going to get more shit than they did for going 0-17. So,
I mean, yeah,
you know,
based off expectations for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, what was the biggest Week 1 surprise?
Jayden Reed.
Jayden
Reed,
the kickers, the number 1.
Jayden Reed and the kickers. I mean, come on.
How about Jayden Reed? Isaiah Likely being that guy.
Yeah,
he was 0.1 away from tying your Barkley call for highest fantasy scorer, Reagan.
Yeah, but you know,
0.1.
I don't shoot bad takes. I mean, I only say good takes, and I was right. But yeah, I mean, he had a hell of a week. I'm not gonna deny it. It's crazy because it was in the same game too.
Yeah, it was crazy. All right, maybe the field had something to do with that. Who knows?
I mean, they were slipping like motherfuckers.
All right. Last question we got for the night. Who was the biggest disappointment in week 1?
McCaffrey.
I mean, we've already shit on the Bengals.
Like low key. I mean, fucking
McCaffrey.
motherfucker got ruled out, and I'm in a league where these fucking stupid assholes decided to come up with this new rule where you can like make like a sub. So it's like, oh, like if your guy gets ruled out, then you can have a replacement or something stupid like that. And I forgot to do it, so I lost my match.
Reagan, I don't think you understand how it works. That is the whole thing.
Why don't you explain
said.
to the people? Why don't you explain to the people?
The
'Cause
auto
I'm sure
sub
a lot of people
feature.
don't have this shit.
The auto sub feature on Sleeper. If it's a 1:00 game and your guy gets ruled out, you could set auto subs ahead of time. So say you're out and about or you don't have Wi-Fi, you're at a game, whatever. You don't have to check your phone 10 minutes before kickoff when inactives are announced and this and that, and
So I
make
should've
the
used someone at
actual
1 o'clock
make
and
the
put the
actual
auto sub in.
change. If they get ruled out, the app will automatically put the sub in. But
So I
we
should have
made
done
it.
that.
No, but we made it so you can't have a guy who's playing Sunday nights, or in this case, Monday night, if he gets ruled out, automatically sub in a player that already played.
You can or can't.
You cannot, because that's
all right,
like
never
a
mind.
best ball lineup. So you're bitching about that, which you didn't even like that part to begin with. And I said, no, it's not. It's not best ball. It's none of that. But now that you got screwed on an injury Monday night, yeah,
The whole thing's
rolled the
fucking
dice.
stupid. They're all trying to come up with different ways to beat me. See that, everyone watching on YouTube? You see that belt up top? These motherfuckers have never won one. And my whole issue is everyone's always trying to find ways to screw me over, coming up with stupid rules. And you know what? I lost because Puka got hurt and McCaffrey didn't play. So I picked up Patrick Taylor. I dropped Mike Williams' ass. And Patrick Taylor doesn't even touch the rock once. I don't even know if he touched the damn field. So you know what? I lost this week, and McCaffrey upset me. But if we want to answer it on in a real level, McBride, Kincaid. I mean, that sucked. Marv. Who else? Omnira, or fucking, I can't say his name. St. Brown, Olave. I mean, there were a couple high drafted guys that just had duds.
Yeah, a lot of duds. A lot of duds.
All right. Well, that
This
wraps
week's
up
the
the
whole week.
questions. So I'll catch
Thank
you
you,
fellas
Z.
later.
We'll catch you, boss.
Yeah, no, you did a phenomenal job. You're better than Baldy.
Thanks, Reagan. I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. Bye. All right, and that was Zach Tong's questions, brought to you by. We don't have a sponsor, but that could be you if you're listening, a future sponsor.
Yeah. All right, Reagan, let's dive into these games because our presidential candidates are going to debate soon. The Chiefs get it done, 27-20 to open up the night. Mahomes looked good, threw for 291. Pacheco had some pop, scored a touchdown. Xavier Worthy lit the world on fire with 2 touchdowns, one on a blown coverage, but still looked pretty damn cool. And then for Baltimore, Lamar, I thought, looked good. Through the air, threw for 273 and a touchdown. He also had 122 rushing. It seemed like the Chiefs were content with letting him pick up yards. Henry, the game script didn't really favor him, didn't really get going as long as only 9 yards. He did punch one in, which a lot of people were on, but the biggest surprise here was Isaiah Likely outpacing Mark Andrews, Likely with 9 catches for $111 and a touchdown. I will say, though, you went on Twitter after, and a lot of people were breaking down the game, and they were like, Andrews getting double teamed and bracketed like the entire game. So, and he was downfield. So a lot of that shit to Likely was kind of underneath, and he made a lot of plays after the catch. So if you do have Mark Andrews in fantasy, I wouldn't stress yet. Obviously, this game ended with a Kevin Durant PTSD for me as a Nets fan. Isaiah Likely's big toe was just a little bit too big on the line. But Reagan, for me, this doesn't change my mindset on Baltimore or Kansas City for the season. Both teams are legitimate threats. Yeah, I had Baltimore squeaking this one out. We were a toe away from doing so, but I don't know, man. It was a great game to watch. Great opener for the season.
Yeah, no, it was electric. Yeah, I mean, Worthy was all that met the eye. I mean, it's crazy. All he needed was 2 plays. I mean, he really wasn't that involved, but that shows you. I mean, he's a guy that he could take it in one touch, and that's your week right there. So love to see that. Likely, I was not expecting that. I still think he has value in fantasy. I mean, temper expectations, but with the tight end landscape, like, they may end up producing 2 top 12 tight ends.
They absolutely could. They're going to go a lot of 2 tight end sets, especially in a game script that favors them more. Like, they were down to Kansas City, so they didn't really get to run the ball with Henry a lot in the second half. So you'd think if they do beat up on some teams like they did last year, those 2 tight end sets, running the ball, play action off it should work a lot.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you highlighted our records from last week, which I'm sure
we
you didn't
did
want
not.
to.
We did not. Yeah, it was not. It was not. We had our ups. We mentioned earlier the parlay, Reagan's call out. The records for us were not sexy, and Reagan's was better than me. Reagan went 8-7-1 against the spread, while I went 6-9, nice, and 1. While Reagan went 10-6 money line, I went 9-7 money line. So not the best start for me. Reagan, you were pretty good. You were all right there. You were all right. You were in the middle there.
We should come up with a punishment for like the season long of this.
Yeah, we should, because I beat your ass last year and I'm going to do it again.
Yeah, well, I did my mayo in the coffee video, so that was the big one. So if I could trade in having your record but not having to do the punishment, I would. But that'll be out soon. We're just waiting for Dave to finish editing that, and that'll be out on social media. So it's freaking disgusting. Looked like I was drinking hot cocoa, but
yeah,
you know,
it did look. It actually looked kind of good through the video, just because it looked like hot cocoa, but it was not.
No, yeah, no, yeah. I guess it did look really good, didn't it?
Yeah. Also, one more thing before we move on from the Chiefs game. Rashee Rice, dude, over 100 yards. I think it's apparent that he's that number one dude in that offense now. I don't know about you, man, but what he looked the second half of last season and the way Mahomes just pumped him the football, like he looked legit over the middle of the field. And even when Hollywood comes back, he's not going to have that role. So Rashee Rice, his value went up for me after seeing week one, not only for just this season, but for dynasty purposes, although that suspension will probably hit you next year. But I still think it's worth buying low if you can towards the end of the season, maybe the trade deadline in the offseason. Rashee Rice is going to be that dude in that offense for a while. All right, let's move on, Reagan, to the Packers and the Eagles. Another phenomenal game to start off the week. Yeah. Eagles obviously got it done 34-29. This was dicey. Packers got up in the second half. The Eagles stormed back, took the lead. Jalen Hurts threw for 2 touchdowns, 278 yards. Did have 2 bad interceptions, though. Not ideal. Those concerns that existed for Hurts before the season definitely are still there for me. His ability to read, man coverage when he's under pressure. He made some stupid throws across his body. Just not ideal. But, yeah, Saquon Barkley ran for over 100 yards, had 3 total touchdowns. That wheel route to start off the game was sweet. I actually told my buddy, I was like, hey, dude, you're actually taking Barkley to score. What the hell's wrong with you as a Giants fan? Cash it out. Jalen Hurts tush push is definitely the play. And then we got down to the end of the game, and they had the tush push, and Hurts fumbled it. So maybe without Jason Kelce, that tush push won't be as good, Reagan.
Yeah, if you drafted Saquon Barkley, you have to be ecstatic after that game. And I'm not worried about. Hurts had some early turnovers. He looked good for fantasy. Well, actually, he didn't look great for fantasy, but he still turned it around, had some big plays later in the game. A.J. Brown, obviously a massive game. And then Jaden Reed, holy shit. It just sucks with Jordan Love going down because now you got to temper expectations for the next couple of weeks with all Packers options. There's really, outside of Jacobs, they're all, borderline benchable. You got to play Jaden Reed again because obviously what he did. And, Christian Watson, I think you could still flex because he's just so talented that he could take one play to the house. But, it's risky. And Jacobs, too. What are teams going to do? They're going to stack the box. They're going to be like, hey, Malik Willis, beat us with your arm. So
yeah, it's going to be tough fantasy purposes for this Packers offense going forward. Reed had 4 for $138 and a touchdown with a long of 70. Also had a touchdown get called back. And then he also added a rushing touchdown from 33 yards, which we saw him do last year. They love giving the ball in the run game with those little jets and sweeps, and I love to see it. I think he's established himself as the number 1 wide receiver. He's scored 9 touchdowns his last 8.5 quarters, which is pretty sweet, especially, if you have him stashed on your bench and you took him. I believe Zach and our league got him in the 3rd round, and that's a 1-quarterback league. So, that's a steal where you got him. But certainly with Malik Willis at the helm, this Packers offense will not score 29 points the next couple weeks. I can't imagine they do. But this was another really fun game. I am worried about the receiving core, though, and how the targets get shed out. If you're investing in this Packers team for fantasy, I have Luke Musgrave, and he got outsnapped by Tucker Kraft. So it seems like Kraft might have took that job over. So now Musgrave looks kind of obsolete for me. Wicks didn't even have a catch. Christian Watson had 13 yards. He did score. Dobbs had 50, but I don't know. It's just going to be dispersed a lot around when Jordan Love gets back.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of weeks without him.
I do think the Eagles look like a legitimate threat, though. Still some concerns with the defense, but that Packers offense legit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's get this one over with, shall we? Vikings-Giants, 28-6 Vikings. Sam Darnold started off in the first half just firing on all cylinders through one incompletion. He only threw for 200 yards, but it's all he really needed to do. Had 2 touchdowns, had a pick, but his arm got hit by Dexter Lawrence. Aaron Jones ran well. His first game in Minnesota, ran for 94 and a touchdown. Jettas didn't really have to do much. Only had 6 targets. Did have a long of 44. He scored. They spread the ball around well. They didn't need Jefferson to be that guy. For the Giants, man, the defense did not look good. Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns were absent. The run defense didn't look good. Jones we already talked about it, despicably bad. On the bright side, Neighbors had 5 for 66, and, he was open. He was, according to separation per route run, he was 8th best in the league this week. So that's a solid. Wan'Dale Robinson was open too. Just couldn't really get him the ball as much, but just really a putrid start for my Giants, man.
Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be a long season for you guys. The Vikings looked better. It's kind of similar to the question before about the Saints and the Panthers. Is it more the Saints or was it more the Panthers? In this case, are the Vikings that good or are the Giants that bad? And I think it's a good blend of both. I think the Vikings might be a little bit better than we thought they would be. Sam Darnold definitely lit them up. The Giants still have a good defense. Aaron Jones obviously is going to be heavily involved. He still looks like the guy we saw in Green Bay. And, at least for Jefferson, that's a good start. He looked like the guy that could be that top 5, if not number 1 fantasy wide receiver in this game. So we'll see. It's a long season, and they're just going to get better, and they're going to get Hawkinson back. And on the Giants side of things, I don't know.
It can't get much worse.
This will be very telling. There's not many weapons you want to start outside of Neighbors. You can start Singletary. You could even consider starting Jones this week at quarterback just because Washington's defense is trash. But if they have a terrible game this week, it might be time to trade all Giants options. If they can't get it done this week, I don't know when they can.
Yeah. Pittsburgh, Atlanta. Pittsburgh gets it done 18-10 on the road. And Justin Fields, 17-23 for $156. Very efficient. Added 57 on the ground. He looked pretty good. Najee. All right, a couple things for me here, Reagan. On both sides of the ball. Is this a one-off game for the amount of touches that Najee and Bijan got and how uninvolved Jaylen Warren and Algier were? Or is this something that's going to stick the rest of the season? Because it's like Arthur Smith left Atlanta where there were a lot of other backs getting carries. And now he's gone. Bijan had 18 carries to Algier's 3. But then he goes to Pittsburgh and Najee gets 20 carries and Warren only gets 2. I know Warren was a little beat up during the week, but the fact that he was active and only got 2 carries to Najee's 20 was kind of wild to me.
Yeah, I think it's game script has a lot to do with it. So I think when the Steelers are up big, they're going to want to run the ball with Najee versus Warren. Najee's the bigger back, going to get the tough yards.
But they were never up big in this game.
No, I know. But they were in control the whole time where they were trying to kill clock. Their defense was playing lights out. So they were playing the kind of their brand of ball where I think if the Steelers are trailing in a lot of games, it's going to be the Warren show. So I think it's more game script dependent. But yeah, overall, just a big game for Najee and Bijan. Is very encouraging. And I will say, Warren and Algier are different back types. They're not the same skill set. So that's something to be said. But as a Bijan owner, you should be thrilled to see that he is the guy and not having to deal with a 50-50 or even a 60-40 timeshare.
Yeah, you certainly agree with that. And if you're a Drake London holder, don't panic yet. Only had 2 catches for 15 yards. Don't panic yet. But if you're a George Pickens holder with Justin Fields, 6 for 85, that's pretty good. And it looks like Justin Fields is slated to start again against Denver this upcoming week.
Yeah, if you're looking for someone to stream like me, I know I lost Jordan Love in the league. I'm looking at Justin Fields, trying to pick him up. A great matchup in Denver, but also Justin Fields, the rushing upside's there. You want guys that can freaking go for 50 yards and a touchdown. That adds so much to the fantasy week. Terrible NFL quarterback, but fantasy, he's one of the top options. So I know I'm putting in my claim to get him this week.
Transitioning to Buffalo and Arizona. And the Bills had to come from behind against this Cardinals team. Kyler Murray looked good. We highlighted him earlier. Threw for $162. Not a ton of yards, but he was efficient. Had a touchdown. Also added 57 yards in the ground. Really spread the ball around. Josh Allen. Hey, I said in the video, if you watched it, he's going to have to play Superman here. What'd he do? 18-23.
Superman.
232 yards. 2 touchdowns. Added 39 on the ground for 2 more touchdowns. James Cook looked good on the ground, ran for 71. And what we expected, Josh Allen really spread the ball around, completing passes to 10 different receivers.
Yeah, which is awesome. But at the same time, if you're a Dalton Kincaid owner, 1 catch, not encouraging.
Nope.
It seemed like Shakir and Keon Coleman and Matt Collins were the 3 guys where Curtis Samuel was kind of the 4th guy there. But
Yeah, bad call by me, huh?
it's I mean, it's a long season, but it is funny to see that it seems like Matt Collins was the number 1 out of all of the guys.
He did score.
He scored,
So did
but
Shakir.
yeah, but it seemed like every time I was turning on red zone, he was the one getting the targets. So, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I mean, Josh Allen should have a huge season. I don't know if he'll be the MVP because I think the turnovers will be there, and I don't know how their record will be. But for fantasy, it looks like he could be that number 1 guy for White, where you drafted him at.
And this was the game script we anticipated, where the Cardinals score a lot of points, but their defense can't get the stops, and it's a high-scoring loss. So beautiful to see for the betting markets and the fantasy markets.
Wow.
Moving
Actually,
on.
Matt Collins only had 2 targets, so that means every time the 2 catches I saw him get were the 2 times they flipped to it on red zone. Damn, bro. Oh, that's such a casual take. I mean, Allen really only didn't throw the ball. He only had 23 attempts, but that just speaks to how good of a game he had.
Yeah. The Bears in our bet of the week, Reagan, come back from 17 down to beat the Titans without scoring an offensive touchdown, huh? I mean, I'm sure you were sitting there feeling real good about yourself.
Yep. I was just laughing, being like, oh, what kind of mayo am I going to have Colin drink? Like, what brand of mayo we getting this chump?
Yeah, well, unfortunately for you, Will Levis still sucks. Threw for 127, a touchdown,
Yep.
2 picks, was sacked 3 times. Pollard did look pretty good on the ground, had a touchdown. Way more involved than Tajay Spears in this one. Receiving-wise for Tennessee, nothing to write home about. I guess Ridley had 50 yards on 7 targets, but nothing crazy, man. Will Levis, I'm telling you, dude, I think Tennessee's looking for a quarterback after this year. And, I mean, Jalen Johnson is still that dude as well.
Yeah. I mean, and this was funny because the Bears defense, I mean, if you're in those fantasy leagues, I mean, they just absolutely cooked. I mean, they really did. And Will Levis, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see, like, if the Titans end up at the end of the year, are they a team like the Panthers that are after 2 years? Are they done with their quarterback? I mean, it's a big question mark there. I mean, the defense looked great. I mean, Caleb Williams didn't do much. I mean, if I'm the Titans defense, I'm pissed. And it's funny, Brian Callahan came out at the game and said if we just punted every time in the second half, we would have probably won that game.
Yeah, well, he said in the second half or in the game. When was the blocked punt?
The second half.
Or a touchdown.
Well, that was in the second, and that's what everyone was commenting.
Everyone's like, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Williams only threw for 93 yards, completion percentage below 50. It looked like a Justin Fields stat line, except Justin Fields would have had more than 15 rushing yards. And, you look at DJ Moore with 36 yards, Keenan Allen with 29, Odunze with 11. A lot of those receivers were all getting drafted pretty highly in fantasy, so that's certainly not a hot start, but it can only go up from here for the number 1 overall pick, right?
I mean, you would hope, dude. You would hope, but I'm being a little pessimistic here. He's gonna get better. I mean, this is just, I chalked this up to nerves, and I kind of said that was my biggest thing. I thought the offense was gonna start out slow, and I wasn't wrong. I was not wrong in my prediction. The only thing I was wrong about is having any faith in Will Levis, because my whole thing was I think the Titans will keep this game close, which they did. I mean, it's just some bad turnovers that they blew. What is Dave gonna say? Hi.
Yeah, Drock just walked in. What's up, Drock?
Slam it. Yeah, how about slamming those Jets, you bum?
Okay. What, did he bet on the Jets last night?
No, I actually knew the Niners spread was the play before the game because everyone was like, we'll get to it. But everyone was like, oh, Jets +4. Oh, now McCaffrey's out when the whole world was already on the Jets. And I'm like, yeah, the Niners are going to roll here, but we'll get to it. Let's get to the Bengals Patriots first, Reagan. Knocked out 2 of my survivor pool entries, and I'm sure many of you listening taking the Bengals at home against the lowly Patriots. Burrow only threw for $164. Did not look good. Moss only had 44 on the ground. Did punch one in, but Jamar Chase 6 for 62. And outside of that, no one really contributed. They really didn't get to push the ball downfield. Meanwhile, for the Patriots offensively, Brissett took care of the ball. Only had 121 yards, but man, if you're a Ramondre Stevenson fantasy holder, you got to be feeling good after week 1. 25 for 120 and a touchdown. Gibson was slightly involved, but it's clearly Ramondre's the workhorse here.
Sell high. I don't think there's going to be a lot. I mean, that was the perfect game script. They're not going to be in a lot of situations where they're up. I don't expect this offense to be able to move the ball like that. And there's going to be a ton of they brought Antonio Gibson in to be the third down back. Like Ramondre is a good receiving back, but I think in a negative game script, which most of their games will be, Antonio Gibson's going to be the one getting it, and Ramondre most weeks won't even be cracking 15 carries, let alone 25. So I would sell high on this performance. I really would.
Yeah, I have him in my one dynasty league. I started him at flex, and I was like sitting there all pissed off because I had Jaden Reed on the bench, and then I'm like, oh, Ramondre Stevenson went off though, so it doesn't hurt as bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you ain't going to complain getting that kind of production from one of your flexes.
Absolutely not. He did fumble, but they did recover it. But still, Ramondre did have 3 receptions to Gibson's 0, though, Reagan.
This is true. And it is interesting, like with the Bengals, like, how do you fucking lose to the Patriots? I mean, you just trying to knock everyone out of Survivor. I mean, I know I got knocked out of, I have 5 entries, and I got knocked out in 2 from the Bengals, and 1 was from the Falcons. So shame on me.
Yeah, shame on me, too. I had 3 entries, got knocked out in 2. I can buy back for one of them. The other one, the work league, I was really trying to make a name for myself in the company, and we're out week 1. So,
well, you made a name for yourself.
Chump. That's just great.
Chump.
That's just great. All right, Reagan. The Colts and the Texans. Man, we were on the Colts in this one. They lose 29-27 to Houston. CJ Stroud threw for 234 and 2 touchdowns. Kind of knew this Colts secondary was going to be a problem, but I didn't anticipate the run defense to be this big of a problem because Joe Mixon added $159 and a touchdown on 30 carries. My goodness. And when you look at the splits,
I expected a big season for him, but hey, it's only 1 week, but he looks good.
It is only 1 week, but that's the strength of this Colts defense is up front. So that's definitely promising if you have Joe Mixon.
Promising for next week, too, for the Josh Jacobs owners.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And for Houston, Nico Collins, 6 for $117. Tank Dell, 3 for 40. Diggs only had 33 yards on 6 receptions, but added 2 touchdowns. So I think it's going to be one of those things where I think Nico Collins is the number 1, but any given week, one of these 3 guys could be the leading guy.
Yeah, I mean, Tank scares me a little bit. He's definitely the number 3, but at the end of the day, his capital wasn't where the other 2 guys are. I didn't touch Nico anywhere, so this kind of sucks because he had a big game, but it's a long season. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, and then on the Colts side, Richardson, kind of what we've seen from him in college and briefly last season, 9 of 19, so completion percentage under 50. But he did have 212 yards on 9 completions. He had 2
That's
touchdowns.
insane.
The one that he uncorked downfield was disgusting after he slipped, dude. Disgusting.
How about Alec Pierce?
Alec Pierce
in Dynasty like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
he's been on waivers for a while.
Yeah,
maybe it might be time to bring him back.
I will say this, like Josh Downs was out, so when Josh Downs comes back, he's going to be above Alec Pierce. But Pierce having 3 for $125 and a touchdown on only 3 targets is nuts. Michael Pittman only had 4 for 31, and then
but the targets were there. I think he was at 8 or 9 targets.
8 targets. And Adonai Mitchell, you look at the stat sheet, you're like 1 catch for 2 yards. What the fuck? But Richardson missed him on 2 touchdowns, dude. He could have had a monster first game. Like he was getting open. He looks like a physical specimen out there.
Yeah, no, I saw the one really bad miss he had, and also with going back to Pierce, he's top 3 in receiving yards right now. So I don't know how many people had that on their bingo card, but yeah,
nobody had that their bingo card. And then Jonathan Taylor and Richardson both punched one in from the ground. Richardson, the leading rusher, on only 6 carries. One like cash in the Big Tongs touchdown parlay, baby. I knew it. I knew he punched one in, bro. And Anthony Richardson, for fantasy purposes, looks like an absolute stud.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we knew his ceiling was top fantasy quarterback with his rushing upside. So if he can get the passing number, like the passing numbers, like were good, but if he can actually get it like on a more consistent level where he's up over 50% completion percentage, he's going to be a scary fantasy option. So, but definitely a great week 1 for him.
Yeah, I think these 2 teams going to be neck and neck in this division all season long. The Colts, to me, another team in the Cardinals category where, their defense is better than the Cardinals defense, but they also lost Juju Brents in the secondary this week, and their secondary was already an issue. So I don't have faith in that defense, and that kind of concerns me for my Colts pick to win the division, to be honest with you, after dropping week 1 against Houston. But I don't know. It's definitely a game that if you're a bettor and you want props, I think the Colts games with that offense and that defense is a team really to target.
Well, yeah, and I'm just looking right now while you're talking. Like in half point PPR, there's three positions in there right now in the top 10 fantasy points scored in the week. One is Jake Moody at 26. Actually, all three guys. Moody had 26 fantasy points, the 49ers kicker. Boswell, the Steelers kicker, at 26, and the Bears defense at 26. And those are three of the top 10 fantasy players in week 1 in half point scoring.
Jesus, man.
I mean, it's insane. And then if you went against like somebody, and it's possible somebody had Allen, Reed, Barkley, and then one of those kickers in that defense. I mean, there's some people that could have had big weeks putting that combination together, but it's just hilarious to think that like people who had Moody and Boswell outscored most people's, like they were the top scorer in the matchup. It's insane. It's insane.
It is insane. All right, Reagan.
Hold on. I lost in a league. I went against the kid who had Moody, the Bears, and Jaden Reed. So right there.
Geez. That's a great trio right there.
Well, 52 from your kicker and defense. He had 85 points between those three players.
Yeah, dude. Keep crying about how you lost in fantasy. You know, I went 3-2, so we're all right. We're chugging along.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
All right, let's move on, Reagan, to the Dolphins-Jaguars. Dolphins get it done 20-17. Did not cover the spread, but they got the win. Tua Tagovailoa, just like I predicted, lit up this Jacksonville secondary, threw for 338 and a touchdown, led by Tyreek Hill after getting arrested, 7 for 130 and a touchdown. Jalen Waddle, 5 for 109. And Devon Achane, 7 for 76. You love to see him getting used like that as a receiver, especially when he only had 10 for 24 on the ground. But clearly Achane is overtaking Mostert in the backfield. He's getting the majority of touches. Unfortunately, both him and Mostert are beat up right now, have not practiced through Monday and Tuesday with the game coming on Thursday. But that was your worry with Achane, was always the durability concerns. You love to see what he saw from a receiver, but not ideal.
Could be a Jeff Wilson week coming up then.
Yeah, it could certainly be a Jeff Wilson week. And then maybe we get to see Jalen Wright after he was inactive week 1, the rookie out of Tennessee who's got burners. But, yeah, Tyreek Hill. All he does is score in home games, baby. Cashed my other leg in the touchdown score parlay. For Jacksonville, run defense looked great. Not worried about their front. Secondary still have those concerns. Offensively, Lawrence didn't look great. He made some wow throws, especially the one to Brian Thomas, the back of the end zone. That was disgusting. Brian Thomas, 4 for 47, a touchdown in his debut. He looks like the real deal. But, yeah, Lawrence only 12 of 21 for $162, Reagan.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. I mean, after the ETN fumble where it got punched out when he was about to score, it just all went downhill from there. And they were playing scared in the second half. They kind of they were just trying to run the ball a bunch. I mean, and also, I mean, the one thing I'll say is Tank Bigsby was very involved. So it was good to see him getting more involved. I know they spent the capital on him. So he's a guy that could have value down the line and may carve out a role. But, Ingram, just terrible game, but that was like most tight ends this week. But Brian Thomas, your guy, big touchdown. So that's definitely a good start.
Brian Thomas. Love
Probably
Brian Thomas.
I mean, out of all the wide receivers taken, it was either him or Ladd having the biggest week out of the rookie wide receivers.
Or Xavier Worthy.
Yeah. I forgot about him.
But those are the three, though. And those guys were all taken later in the first round in your rookie drafts. So kind of crazy. And also seeing Tank Bigsby get the same amount of carries as ETN, but have 29 more yards than him. You're an ETN holder. Although he did score and cash my leg, my parlay, I might stay away from ETN for a little bit. It's a little sketchy now with Tank Bigsby getting involved, which Doug Peterson did say in the offseason that they need to get Tank Bigsby more involved, and he's a talented player.
He looked good.
Not ideal for Travis ETN holders. You hear that, Dave? I know I just sent you an offer for ETN last week. It's off the table now.
You're not getting him. ETA's the boy.
Yeah, he's off the table now, dude. My offer's off the table. Tank Bigsby had just as many carries, 30 more yards. T-Rock has no idea about his fantasy team. He probably just lost and didn't even check.
He's too busy giving us locks that don't hit.
Yeah. All right, let's move on, Reagan. We touched on this game earlier, so we don't have to dive in too deeply, but the Saints 47-10 over the Panthers, just a total ass beating. Bryce Young, 13 of 30 for 161 and 2 picks.
And a rushing touchdown. Don't forget that.
He did have a rushing touchdown, but if you take out that rushing touchdown, it's one of the worst stat lines we've seen in a while here. I mean, Adam Thielen, of course, he still led the led the receiving room in yards. All those people typing up Deontay Johnson. He had 2 for 19 on 6 targets. Leggett 4 for 35. Really bad. Mingo did fumble. He had 2 for 40. Not ideal. For the Saints, Derek Carr, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, only had 4 incompletions the whole game. Kamara looked good, 15 for 83 and a touchdown. Maybe he's not washed, 5 receptions for 27, or maybe it's just the Carolina Panthers. I don't know.
Yeah, week 2 will be very telling for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing on the Saints before you could take the floor, Reagan, Rashid Shaheed. I took him in a couple best ball leagues.
Yeah.
This dude, the only guy who has more deep touchdown receptions of more than 50 yards since Shaheed entered the league is Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill, yeah.
Legit deep threat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm staying away from pretty much all Don't even start Sanders or Chuba. You can't. I mean, there's hope for Brooks when he comes back. Hopefully he'll unlock some more stuff. But yeah, it's rough sledding. I mean, I think you can still play Deontay, but outside of that, I wouldn't touch any of the Panthers offense till we see it. And on the Saints side, I mean, hey, maybe Kamara is going to be better this year, but I'd like to see him do it against the Cowboys before I make that choice. The tight ends, I mean, while Moreau and Juwan Johnson finished in the top 12, I don't think you can start either. It's just too many guys involved, and Taysom Hill is always involved in some sense. So I don't know. And in Olave, it sucks that they had such a big game and such a big blowout for him to do nothing. But then again, when Carr only has what he end with less than 200 passing yards?
He had right around 200 passing yards.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, in a closer game, I mean, you expect Olave to be more involved. So I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Yeah, don't stress about Olave. He was Derek Carr's go-to guy last year. He still will be. So don't panic yet. A lot of don't panics yet. Jim Harbaugh gets his first win in his first game as the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers, 22-10 over those Raiders that beat their brakes off last year. Herbo, 17-26 for $144 and a touchdown. Not a ton of yardage, but didn't really need to do it in the second half because J.K. Dobbins took over. 10 for $135 and a touchdown. Had a long of 61. Yeah, he did get hawked. Yeah, he was a little gassed, but for a dude that's come back from not only an Achilles last year, but an ACL the year before, really cool to see Dobbins, the smile on his face after the game. I mean, that was awesome to see. I did have Gus Edwards to score to cash a big parlay, though, so I was a little upset about that. But receiving-wise, Ladd McConkey, leading receiver with 39 and a touchdown. Quentin Johnson, 38. Joshua Palmer, 2 for 15. Not ideal against the Raiders secondary that really is not that good, Reagan.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a great game for Herbert. It'll be interesting. I mean, hey, they get the Panthers, and we saw how much points they let up last week. But yeah, and even the running back room's interesting. I don't see Dobbins just running away. I still think it's going to be like a timeshare 50-50. So I think it's just dependent on the week and stuff. I mean, I still lean in favor of Gus just because he's going to get the goal line carries. He put up 15 touchdowns with Baltimore last year. So, and in the weapons, it seems like Ladd McConkey's the number one for Herbert. He's the one with the touchdown. But even Quentin Johnston, I mean, he was involved. Couple drops, but expected.
Yeah. I mean, one thing to highlight defensively for the Chargers before we move over to the Raiders was Joey Bosa had a sack, which you love to see if you're a Chargers fan. He actually played really well in this game.
Yeah. And same with Mac. Also, Joe Alt had a great game too.
Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, dude, that tackle duo looks legit.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going against yeah, I mean, Max Crosby really was getting kind of stonewalled by Joe Alt. Just a crazy debut for the young buck out of Notre Dame. Offensively for the Raiders, Minshew threw for 257, but, you know, they didn't really score. They had 10 points. Zamir White, 13 for 44, lost a fumble. Not a great start for all those guys that were snagging Zamir White in the middle of the draft. Alexander Madison, his snap share was up there with White, so maybe, and he's cheek, so maybe it's more of a timeshare than we anticipated initially, or maybe it's more game script dependent. I don't know. Jacoby Myers, the leading receiver, 3 for 61. Devontae only had 5 for 59. But Brock Bowers looks legit, man. 6 for 58. Surprised how involved he was week 1.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, thank you. I mean, sorry for anyone driving, listening to this who had to hear that shit. But yeah, I mean, Bowers looked great. I mean, he ended up, I believe, as a top 5 tight end this week. So, I mean, hey, I was kind of down on him. Maybe I should relook at that. But also, it's kind of easy to end as a top 5 tight end when absolutely every tight end shits the bed. So, outside of likely.
It's a valid point. It's a very valid point. The Seattle Seahawks take care of business at home against the Broncos. I believe the spread on this one was what, 6.5, Reagan?
Yeah. Yep.
They won by 6. So right
Vegas
inside
knows.
that line.
Vegas knows.
Vegas always Oh no, we had 6. We had 6 in our sheet. So it was a push.
We know.
But Bo Nix, man, 26 for 42, only 138 yards and 2 picks. We highlighted it earlier. Really just struggled to push the ball downfield.
I mean,
and that's
26
concerning.
Is insane for 130 yards.
I know. I mean, we get it. You can get the ball out quick, but I mean, you still need to push the ball downfield to keep teams honest. And it's concerning when you have a guy like Marvin Mims that's a burner that had 1 target, didn't have a catch. You got your boy, Troy Franklin, you just took out of Oregon, who inactive, didn't play. 2 burners, and you can't push the ball downfield. A lot of guys were getting targets underneath. Sutton did have 12 targets, but that turned into 4 catches for 38 yards. So that's kind of disgusting and not a good start for Cortland Sutton.
Jaleel McLaughlin had 5 catches for 1 yard. I mean, that just shows you, like,
and a fumble.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's going to be a rough year for the Broncos. I mean, the fact that you got 2 safeties and couldn't even win the game, I don't know. They were like, Seattle played terrible. Like, I mean, they kind of woke up in the second half, and Walker looked great and Charbonnet, but like, I don't know. I think it's going to be a rough year for Seattle. If you're struggling with the Broncos that really don't have anybody, I think it's going to be a long year for the Seahawks. But we'll see. You know what? Week 1's just such a weird week. A lot of overreactions, but I don't have confidence in either of these teams season long.
No, I do not either. And this Denver backfield, Jaleel with 10 carries, Javonte with 8, Estimate with 2, just seems like a big timeshare. No one's really established themselves yet. Just a backfield I want to stay away from until someone does establish themselves. And like you mentioned, the Seahawks side, of course, Tyler Lockett is 6 for 77 when everyone's expecting a JSN breakout. Metcalf did have Pat Surtain on him for the majority of the game, and Pat Surtain is that dude and pretty much locked him down. But Kenneth Walker, yeah, he scored, had 20 carries for 103, so that is great to see.
For sure.
All right, Reagan, we're almost at the finish line. Cowboys and Browns. Can you actually pause real quick, Reagan? Sorry.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick pause break. All right, well, that pause break is over. Now that you had to do your weird stuff, you were probably doing such weird stuff on the pause break.
Yeah, we just need a quick pause, but it's all right. The Dallas Cowboys roll into Cleveland, Reagan, and beat the brakes off the Browns. Dak Prescott, fresh off that new contract, threw for $179 and a touchdown. Zeke punched one in. I know you love to see that, Reagan. Brandon Cooks scored. CeeDee Lamb only had 5 for 61. The yardage output wasn't ideal for Dallas here, but they still hung 33 points. And, man, is Deshaun Watson terrible, huh?
Yeah. Oh, he's bad, but Dallas' defense, that's good.
Trayvon Diggs with a pick and his return from the ACL.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I mean, I think we're going to see Jameis at some point in this season. I mean, it's 1 week, but not. If I'm a Browns fan, I'm just so done with Watson at this point. I mean, he's just, has not even been close to anything of what he was advertised. I mean, slanging that thing looked way better last year, so you might as well give Winston a chance. At least he's from the same slanging that thing family.
Absolutely. I mean, Watson had 2 picks, only threw for $169. I mean, Amari Cooper had that dropped touchdown, basically a touchdown. He only had 2 for 16. Not ideal. Njoku, 4 for 44. Judy, 3 for 25 and a touchdown. But, I mean, Jerome Ford did score as well, 44 yards. But, I mean, what the worst part is they restructured his deal before the season, too, and even kicked more money down the road. Yeah, it's all guaranteed. So he's getting the money anyways, but they could have eaten more of that this year. They're really just the Browns. They have such a great roster on paper, but they're really handcuffed with the way Deshaun Watson has played for them.
Yeah, I don't. And that nobody will trade for him either. They're so fucked.
Dude, it's the most untradeable contract, uncuttable contract in the history of sports. Sports. It is terrible.
Yeah,
I guess when I wrote that article last year, like during week 4 or week 5, it still holds true now, huh?
There you go. Nobody's going to be getting him on freezing cold takes.
No fucking way. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers steamroll the Commanders 37-20. Baker Mayfield, my goodness, he looked good. Threw for 289, 4 touchdowns. Mike Evans had 2 touchdowns on 61 yards. Chris Godwin, 83 yards and a touchdown. Jalen McMillan, In his first game, the rookie out of Washington, he had a 32-yard touchdown. And Bucky Irving, baby, 9 carries for 62 yards for someone that stashed Bucky Irving in a couple rookie drafts. That looks good for me because Rachaad White had 15 carries for half the amount of yards that Bucky did.
Yeah, I got Bucky in a couple leagues. I'm excited for what he can become. I mean, we both were not high on White coming into this year. I mean, he's a good passing back, but he's not a good running back. You know what I mean? He's not a good runner. He struggles. He's a high touchdown dependent and receptions type of fantasy player. So I think he'll still have big weeks, but Irving clearly has some juice. So I wouldn't be shocked if he carves a bigger rollout week in and week out if he continues to have this success. It's funny, the Bucks fans are probably going to be taking their victory laps after 1 week. I mean, we were shitting on him in that video, and we've been getting a lot of flack from them about saying we don't know what we're talking about. But you know what? Let's pause the brakes because Washington may have the worst defense in the league. Let's wait a little bit longer before we fully give the Bucks their flowers. If it's 1 week against a terrible defense.
Absolutely. That's the big thing for me for the Commanders is, Jaden Daniels, he was all right, 17 for 24 for $184.
Great for fantasy.
16 carries for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's going to be a legitimate fantasy threat. But the big thing for me is this defense is still absolutely terrible, and you can make the argument the worst defense in the league up there with Arizona. I think it's completely viable. I think for fantasy, if you drafted Jaden Daniels, you're feeling real damn good about yourself, though, because he's dropping back to pass a ton this year, using his legs a ton this year because their defense can't stop a nosebleed.
No, they cannot.
Sunday Night Football, Reagan. The Lions squeak it out against the Rams. A little come from behind, 26-20. I can't lie to you, bro. Even though the Rams lost, I was really impressed with Stafford and McVay and what they did, given all the injuries on the offensive line and Puka Nacua going out. They battle with a team that a lot of people expect to be contending for the Super Bowl. Stafford threw for 317 yards and a touchdown. Cooper Kupp, 14 for 110, a touchdown on 21 targets. That is ridiculous. Yeah, that won't hold every week once Puka comes back. But for the next 4 weeks, especially next week against Arizona, Cooper Kupp is a smash play in every regard. And yeah, Kyren Williams only had 50 yards rushing. He did have a touchdown, but I don't care about that. What you care about as a Kyren Williams fantasy holder is Blake Corum did not get a touch. Ronnie Rivers had 2 carries. Yeah, the yards weren't there. It's fine. Detroit's got Hutchinson and DJ Reader up there. They have a legitimate front. It's a tough team to run the ball on. They have good linebackers.
Yeah,
the snap percentage and the touches. That's what you like to see.
Yeah, he was only him and Taylor were over 90% of snap percentages. So you love to see that. And that's why he fell, because people were so worried about Corum. Corum will not be involved, clearly. And if he is, it ain't going to be a heavy involvement. I mean, McVay's proven he only wants to use one running back. I mean, that's going back to the Gurley days. So I would try to go get Kyren. I mean, seeing that excites me. I would try to go get him. I mean, there's not many running backs anymore that get over that 80% threshold week in and week out, let alone 90.
And yes, he did return punts, so he's fine. For the Lions, I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown only had 13 yards. Didn't really need him in this one because Jameson Williams, man, it feels really good to finally see Jameson Williams play well. And for stashing him on the bench for 2 years, starting to feel like, okay, maybe it wasn't a wasted roster space for 2 years. 5 for 121 and a touchdown. He looked electric. That was great to see. And then obviously the Lions ran the ball down the Rams' throats, which we anticipated without Aaron Donald there in a really young front. Montgomery, 17 for 91, a touchdown, the game winner. Gibbs, 11 for 40 and a touchdown. Just a smash mouth football team like the Lions, really taking it to a young front like the Rams. But the Rams did hang in there, man. This was a really fun game to watch.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it had all the storylines going, Stafford coming back again and getting the OT is awesome. And it we'll see how the season progresses, but for all of you that reached high in Gibbs, I mean, I still think he'll have a big season, but that just goes to show you why Montgomery was such a value. I mean, he's going to be heavily involved.
Gibbs got like one touch the first 15, 25 minutes of the game. It was crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, Montgomery's the power back. They want to use him and establish him early and often. So he's going to have a big role. I mean, I think he's in RB2, if not RB1 all season. So full steam ahead with him. And Amon-Ra, obviously better days ahead. But if you can kind of maybe wiggle him away from somebody, get a little deal on a guy that went in the first round. I mean, most smart people won't trade him away knowing that bigger days to come. But if you can go get him and be like, hey, look, Jameson Williams is the guy now, and they want to run the ball, you never know.
You never know. All right, let's wrap it up, Reagan, with the Niners and your Jets. Unfortunately, your Jets fell short 32-19. Brock Purdy looked good, threw for 231. No touchdowns, but didn't really need to in this one when Jordan Mason goes 28 for $147 and a touchdown. And, Jake Moody makes 6 field goals.
Yeah, our fucking run defense is terrible. I mean, that's going to be the reason that we
CJ Mosley got hurt, though, so it could be a factor.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He came back in. Our run defense is trash. I mean, we were just getting cooked. Our secondary is great. And the quote that pissed me off is one of the reporters is like, Robert Saleh said, when they want to stop the run, they'll stop the run. Like, shut the fuck up. We got to get rid of Robert Saleh. I can't stand him. I do not want him as our coach anymore. He's terrible. He's terrible. I mean, to go against your former team and, you get cooked. Your defense gets cooked against your former team. I can't. I mean, I'm just ranting and rambling right now, but it just pisses me off so much. But in positive news, Rodgers looked really good. Still a little rusty, but it was awesome to see him finish the game. Alan Lazard, my guy.
Your dude, Alan Lazard, 2 tuts.
I would definitely go scoop him up. I mean, clearly he's going to be heavily involved in this offense. Even if Mike Williams is to come back and take the number 2 role, I mean, Alan Lazard belongs to be on roster, so I'd be putting in your waiver claim and spending a little bit of fab on him.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it looks like Garrett Wilson was going to go for 200 yards in this game after that big touchdown drive from the Jets, which I think he had, 4 or 5 catches on that one drive alone, and then they couldn't really find him the rest of the way, which was unfortunate.
Our play calling was terrible. It was after that drive, it just went to run on first down with Brees, run on second down with Brees. Okay, 3rd and 5. Oh, sack. Oh, penalty. It was just like, why are we not passing the ball? Like, we were struggling to establish the run because our offensive line is more pass protectors, which makes sense because you want to protect Rodgers.
And Fred Warner's that dude in the middle. Dude. Fred Warner's that guy.
You're trying to run against a team that has a great front. Like, the 49ers' weakness is their secondary, not their front 7. So I really don't understand it. I mean, I get it. They're trying to ease Rodgers in and stuff, but just the play calling was terrible. I'm so pissed with our coaching staff after that game.
Yeah, but you did get a win, though. Aaron Rodgers finished the game, except you did get pulled with like a drive left, and you still ran Brees Hall into the teeth of that Niners defense, which didn't make sense to me either, while Brandon Allen wasn't doing that. But, yeah, I mean, at least Rodgers is healthy. At least Rodgers is healthy, and there's brighter days ahead for Brees Hall. Yeah, he still scored. The yards per carry weren't ideal, but he did have 5 catches for 39 yards. Rodgers still going to hit that guy out of the backfield a ton. Brees Hall is going to cook. When McCaffrey gets back, he's going to cook in this Niners offense, obviously. Jordan Mason going for almost $150 was disgusting.
Yeah, and I don't even know if McCaffrey will play this week. I mean, another report came out. I mean, in the way Mason ran, they might really ease him back in. I mean, why rush him back? You're going to make the playoffs.
Why? Yeah.
Why rush him back? I mean, Mason's very viable. So if you spent that first round pick or what, I mean, well, obviously first round pick, but you spent that first overall pick, you're really smacking yourself because McCaffrey may miss the next week or 2 because there's no reason to rush him back. There really
and they
isn't.
Also said it's more so the Achilles and the calf, which is even more of a reason to be cautious. But for the Niners, Debo had 8 carries for 23 yards, did get a touchdown, but they did use him a lot as a runner. Not super effective. He had 5 for 54 through the air, which is nice. Jawan Jennings, 5 for 64. Ayuk looked rusty, 2 for 28. Had that Purdy threw that dime in the back of the end zone, man. And Ayuk was beating himself up over it. Knew he should have caught that ball. But if you drafted Ayuk, just knocking some rust off. Did you see the Peyton Manning rant where he's like, "This is why we have training camps. Sign your contracts earlier."
No, I didn't see it just because I wasn't watching the Manning cast. I didn't want to see those guys talking about my Jets and Bill Belichick. I was like, I'm all right. But I mean, it's a good point though.
It is. All right, Reagan, that wraps up the week 1 recap. Man, it was so much fun watching ball again. Can't wait to talk about week 2 with you tomorrow, buddy.
Yeah, tomorrow we'll be back with our big predictions and our punishment for week 2.
Let's roll, baby.
Hell yeah.